Section 2.4 is all about multi-step equations, and the best way to tackle this section is just to show you a bunch of problems that should be a review from middle school. So let's just get started. On this first problem, we have 3x plus 2 times x minus 4 equals 47. First thing I will do is distribute the 2 to the parentheses. So I have 3x, that stays the same, plus 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, equals 47. Next, I'll just combine like terms. I have the 3x and the 2x. 3x plus 2x is 5x, and the minus 8 equals 47 stays the same. Now I'll want to move the minus 8 from the left to the right, so I have to do the opposite operation. So I'll add 8 to both sides. End up with 5x equals 55. And again, I want to get rid of the 5 on the left side. It says 5 times x, so the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'll divide both sides by 55, because remember, whatever I do to the left side, I got to do to the right side. So the 5s will divide each other out. So x equals 55 divided by 5 is 11. Now remember, you can always check your answer by substituting your answer back into the original equation and see if it works out. Let's look at another example. 8x minus 2 plus x equals 16. We don't have any parentheses in this problem, so we'll just start by combining like terms. Remember, there's an implied 1 in front of that x. So 8x and 1x is 9x. Then I'll have the minus 2, that stays the same, equals 16. I want to move that minus 2 from the left to the right, so I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Whatever I do to one side, I got to do to the other. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0, so I end up with 9x equals 18. That's 9 times x, so I'm going to divide by 9 to get rid of that 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1, so leaving me with just x on the left. 18 divided by 9 is 2. Once again, I could check my answer by substituting it back in and seeing if I get what I started with, the 16. Example 3. 4x minus 7 times x minus 2 equals 26. I included this problem because unlike the first problem, it says minus 7. So when we distribute in that first step, I need to keep in mind that it's a negative 7 that I'm distributing to that parenthesis. So the 4x will stay the same, and then I have to take negative 7 times x, which would be negative 7x, and negative 7 times negative 2, which is positive 14. I would say one of the most common mistakes for kids to make is to not distribute to that second number in the parenthesis. And so in this case, they would leave it as 4x minus 7x and then just keep it as minus 2. So remember to always distribute to the entire parenthesis. Like the last two problems, the next thing we're going to do is combine like terms. 4x and negative 7x would be negative 3x. The 14 and the 26 will stay as they are. I want to move that plus 14 from the left to the right, so I got to do the opposite, subtract 14. 14 minus 14 is 0, leaving me with negative 3x on the left. And 26 minus 14 is 12. I got to divide by negative 3 to get rid of that on the left. And so I'll end up with x equals negative 4. As I've said before, you can always plug that answer back in and see if it works out, if it gives you that 26 that you started with. Let's look at one more example with parentheses in it. So again, let's distribute first. This time I have a negative 6 plus 4 times 2x is 8x, and 4 times 1 is 4. Remember, like we said in the last problem, always distribute to the entire parenthesis. This time, it's my constant terms that are the same, my like terms, so negative 6 and 4. So the 8x I'm going to write first just because I didn't have anything to combine it with, and typically you put your x value first. And negative 6 plus 4 would be negative 2, so minus 2 equals negative 34. We'll add 2 to both sides. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. That was the whole point, is to get it off the left side. Equals negative 34 plus 2. If you have a tough time figuring these positive negatives out, I always think of it as this. If somebody owes me negative $34, so they owe me $34, and they pay me back $2, they still owe me $32. So it's negative 32. Remember, always relate things to money, and it'll make more sense to you. So 8 times x, I'll divide both sides by 8 to get rid of that. 8 divided by 8 is 1, leave me with just x on the left side, and negative 32 divided by 8 is negative 4. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. Remember, you can always plug it back in and see if you get what you started with. Next, example number 5. Gasp, there's a fraction. I know a lot of you will just run away screaming to this problem, but I'm going to show you an easy way to get rid of the fraction. If you ever want to get rid of a fraction in a problem, all you have to do is multiply by the denominator. So in this case, the denominator is 3, since it was 2/3. So if I want to get rid of the 2/3, I'm going to multiply by 3. Remember, if I do something to the left, I always have to do it to the right as well. So let's do a little side work. If I take 3 times 2/3, remember 3 is technically over 1, so if I do some cross simplification here, 3 goes into 3 once, leaving me with those just canceling out. So I end up with 2 over 1, which is just 2. So if you notice here, when I multiply by the denominator, those just cancel, leaving me with the numerator. So I have 2 times x minus 6, and remember, if I multiplied by 3 on the left, I also have to multiply by 3 on the right. So 12 times 3 is 36. And now, by one simple little step of multiplying by the denominator, I end up with a much easier problem. So I'll distribute this 2 now. So 2x minus 12 equals 36. I'll add the 12 to get it from the left to the right. And I have 2x equals 48, divide both sides by 2, and x equals 24. Again, plug it back in, see if it works out. Let's look at another example. This time I have 3/5 times 2x minus 4 equals 18. So just like last time, all we'll have to do is multiply by the denominator, which in this case is 5. Multiplying by the denominator allows us to cancel those numbers, leaving us with the numerator. So I'd have 3 times 2x minus 4. But keep in mind, if I multiplied the left side by 5, I always have to multiply the right side by 5. So 18 times 5 is 90. Now, once again, with a very simple step of multiplying by the denominator, I end up with a very easy problem where all I have to do is distribute and solve for the x. So 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. So minus 12 equals 90. Add 12 to both sides. So I have 6x equals 102. Divide both sides by 6, and you end up with x equals 17. That's it for this section. If you have any questions, make sure you jot them down, especially these problems with the fractions in it. We can cover them in class. If these are still not quite making sense to you, just make sure you ask. We'll see you then.